Just last Saturday, love was in the air with millions celebrating Valentine's Day. Jesus tells us to love all people, even our enemies. But what does love mean? Love is the most overused word in our vocabulary. So overused that we say it about God, our spouse, slice of pizza, and it all means the same thing. But in the Bible, love isn't one thing, it's four. And that's what we're going to talk about. That and a little bit more in this What is Love? Baby Don't Hurt Me episode of Mount Hermeneutics. So keep it right here. You're listening to Mount Hermeneutics, where three Marines give their perspective on God, faith, and spirituality with a heavy lean on the divine council worldview. This is not your grandma's Sunday school, nor is it always for the Christian faint of heart. Nothing about who we are or what we say make us experts. But you better believe we'll have a take, and perhaps it won't suck.
Yeah. Okay.
Billy Bob is good in every single thing he does, and I can't stand him because he looks like my grandfather.
Is that right?
He looks almost exactly like my white grandpa.
Wow. Huh. I assume you didn't have to clarify.
I would just say he definitely does look like the one from Alabama. This is great content. I know. This is wonderful.
Matt will edit this out.
Remember that Mount Hermeneutics is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. And if you're seeing our face, because it's the only video podcast that we have right now, you're watching YouTube. And you can find us simply by searching for Mount Hermeneutics. With that said, I'm Andre. That's Brian. That's Matt. Fellas, what's happening?
Now that I have a song stuck in my head.
That's been stuck in my head all day.
It wasn't until 45 seconds ago.
Maybe don't hurt me.
I've been fearful that it would come out. I'd break into song.
I too am fearful of you breaking out in song.
It could happen.
So you have a good Valentine's Day, everybody.
I am a conscientious objector of Valentine's Day.
I heard that.
I have been for some time. For those that don't know, many moons ago, I stopped to buy my young wife flowers on Valentine's Day and was horrified by my first real awareness of markup and like holiday price gouging and roses that would normally cost like $30-40 for like $120. And I didn't have $120. Still bought them.
Because you were home also young.
We were both young and relatively poor. Right. And I bought them and I came home really aggravated. And I told her basically that no more Valentine's Day. That one, it was a trumped up holiday that's fake. And the real story of Valentine's Day is kind of awesome. But if we were even remotely remembering the martyrdom of Saint Valentine, that would be one thing. And the reason that there's hearts and red cards is to remember his blood that was shed. Not that, our hearts look like that or anything.
My Marine Corps color is red.
And I basically told her, if you need a special day and for me to overspend on flowers to know that I love you, then our marriage is doomed. And I don't know what to tell you. So
I disavow. I disavow all of that.
What I said?
Yeah, everything you just said, because I don't want to lose half our audience.
I was pretty lucky for years and years. I didn't have to do anything extravagant. Just a simple bouquet of flowers from somewhere was. I mean, Target had some for like $8 or something like that, with some daisies, some other stuff, some cute things. Get a couple of nice treats. What's her favorite bag of chips and some, candy bar or whatever, and then write something cute on a card, and your money.
I remember a feeling of mounting dread when Valentine's Day was approaching, because I knew I gotta do something cool. But I've been single for so long, and I can't recall anything I actually did.
Or what I do my time, I made a mixtape on a CD, and before she went to work.
How old are you?
I popped it in. Well, that's because we were young.
Held it outside our window.
We got married, so I popped the CD in, and then I was actually on an exercise, so I was gone. And she just before I left to catch the bus to go up to my damn exercise at dumb o'clock in the morning, popped the CD in, and it was a big hit. It put money in the bank for me, plenty of time. Just early Oh, some songs from the 90s, from the early 90s when, yeah.
Hmm.
But eh, Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Hey, happy President's Day, guys.
Bah humbug.
Is that today?
Yeah,
That's
it
Is
is
today a
today.
today.
holiday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's yeah. I was off work today because of to celebrate Joe Biden and the other guys.
and the other guys,
And Jimmy Carter.
Yeah,
all
some of
those
our greatest hits.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Woo.
Commie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just lost the other half of our audience right there. Yeah.
I
there's
don't
four. We got four dudes left. Hey guys, what up?
Yeah.
I doubt we had a lot of Democrats watching before that. But
I know of one in particular that's watching right now.
really?
Hello, Democrat watching.
We don't want to call you out.
And
But
because of that, I'm not going to talk about Obama. She's black. But
We have a female black Democrat fan. Love it. Look at us
mhm.
breaking down the
We're growing.
demos.
We're growing. She's probably gonna send me a message as soon as she sees this. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what else happened? We lost the lead singer of Three Doors Down on
Mm.
Tuesday of last week. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Robert Duvall died
I
today.
just saw that today, Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
He had a good run though. 95 is
Oh, he had a
Yeah.
heck of a run. Yeah.
attaboy.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go watch Godfather now.
I'm gonna watch Colors.
Colors. So there's two bulls on top of a hill.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite like stories.
It's crazy. Is
I-
Sean Penn's a really good actor?
Yeah. Yeah.
Him.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man.
I've used that two bulls story countless times in my professional career. It works.
What's the two bulls story?
I can't tell it on the show.
Okay.
And I think you'd be the most offended, Mr. Our show is
Right. Well, because he didn't know. Because
Right.
obviously Brian isn't a big fan of colors.
Is that
I'll tell you on the break.
okay? That's okay. I'll just.
And for our Patreon listeners, you can hear what we talk about on the break.
Ooh.
Huh? Do we have Patreon? Do we have that?
We will.
Why what even if we did or didn't, why would you say that? Just fake it till you make it, Brian.
Scarcity sells, dude.
All right.
I wanted our four listeners to be like, wait, what? There's Patreon. How do I get down?
We can
Right.
give them money. No way.
I've
Speaking
wanted to
of
give them
giving
money
us
for
money.
3 years now, and
We have four
they
or
won't
five
take-
people out there that are more than willing to give us
they
a dollar
take
a
my
month.
money. Take my money.
Speaking of giving us money, I
Our
blogged
dozens,
today.
our dozens
posted
of
a-
fans. Oh yeah, blog.
I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up on there.
Nice.
Hey,
So,
there you go.
People value what I write.
You should put your blog on OnlyFans.
I can't that.
We
There's
should put this
probably
show on
something to that.
OnlyFans.
We should.
Probably something
People were
to
like,
that.
"What the?" We can save some perverts
Just
to
so we
become-
can tell people I'm an OnlyFans content creator.
and then have it in my linked my link tree.
Yeah, and people will be like, someone
Click
clicks
up-
and then they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be like, this is your OnlyFans.
I'm gonna have the spicy pepper next to the link.
You're like, what you want to see?
18 or older. So there was the politician in Florida that had an OnlyFans for her campaign.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it was all campaign stuff. No,
Right.
no funny business.
It was just a way to monetize it and control it,
Yeah.
and it not be censored and whatever by
Right.
the algorithm. Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
She won. So
Mhm.
plus she's hot. So
Yeah.
because she's Republican.
We can change our show to like three guys, one mic.
Brian's like, I don't like where this is going.
If you know, you know.
I know.
He's
So
like,
I seeing all the
You
like,
shouldn't keep talking
reaction
about this, Brian.
videos-
You should just let it
stop
go.
Stop
No,
it. You should
like
Elsa that
seeing all the reaction videos, I took that as warning. Like I'm better off without that in my head.
I never
And
clicked on it.
I've never clicked on it.
I've never seen it. I don't
know what it is.
I've seen the reactions, and that's enough.
And I've never seen the Human Centipede.
Yeah. No,
I've seen the South
nor
Park
I.
episode.
So
I've seen the South Park episode that parodies it, and that's good enough.
That's bad enough.
that's always perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like
So speaking of that, let's talk about love.
What is love?
what is love? Are we gonna jump right into rapid fire?
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
why not?
Let's go. Rapid fire.
Lightning round.
All right, question one. Is God's love ever dependent on human behavior?
No.
Not really.
Okay. Does God love people at their worst or only after repentance?
Both.
Yes.
What does God's covenant what does covenant love demand that modern culture often ignores? I'll ask that again. What does covenant love demand that modern culture often ignores?
Obedience.
Conditions. But I like Matt's too.
Is God's love unconditional in relationship or unconditional in offer?
None of the above.
Interesting.
Not sure I understand. Pass.
Okay. Can someone claim God's love while resisting transformation?
Claim it,
Can
as
someone,
in,
yeah,
Yeah,
does,
like this is God's love and it's for me and I'm here. I guess my love that God has for
oh, yeah. I
me.
mean, it happens all the time. They're not correct, but people do it.
Well, I mean, if they're not correct, then can they really claim it? Like if they're
Well,
just
I mean,
claiming
when I say
falsehoods,
correct, I don't mean that they're wrong. They're not,
right?
what they're stating isn't incorrect, but they are incorrect.
Okay.
If that, I don't, that
um,
probably doesn't make sense.
based on
That's
what
fair.
I think you're saying, I'm going to say no.
Okay. Does divine love comfort us more or confront us more?
Yes.
It should confront us more.
Then comfort?
Yeah.
Okay.
It, I don't, it's a process that includes both in,
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think it's exclusive. I just think that it should
This is
do more
rapid
of one than
fire, and
the
I'm pretty
other.
sure that's content. Like whatever, guys. Like so, is belief merely intellectual or is it relational trust?
that, yeah, what you said.
Both.
Can someone claim to love God while ignoring his commands?
No.
Yes, but they're liars.
Yes, but they're incorrect, like I said earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is love for others the unavoidable overflow of God's love?
Yeah.
The overflow?
Unavoidable. So
I don't
like
I don't I don't I,
because God loves you, you can't help but love others.
Yes.
If you're
no.
doing it right.
No.
I feel like that's like, yeah,
No.
that's, yeah.
I agree with Brian. That's no points for Matt. And that concludes rapid fire. All right. So the rapid fire kind of seems a little disjointed there, just because I think we talk about love, it's all over the place. But there was one we disagreed on, right? What question was
At
I
that?
least
think we
one.
did.
Yeah. Uh,
We'll find more. We'll find more to disagree about.
is love for others unavoidable or the unavoidable overflow of God's love?
Yep.
Matt, why do you say that's not?
Because, and I guess the challenge to this is it'll springboard into a broader discussion of love. And Dre, you mentioned in the opening that there's multiple types of love.
Mhm.
And I think that when you ask that question without specifying which type of love, it makes it kind of weird to answer, right? And
Well,
so what
God only
I'm
has one kind of love for us, though.
that's the point. And in my opinion, humans experience and express the other types of love more readily, almost to an exclusion over the type of love that God shows to us.
Almost to an idolatrous
Sure.
extent.
Yeah. But my point is that if we were loving agape as an overflow of God, then I would agree with that. But I don't believe that we tend to express and experience agape in any real meaningful way on a regular basis across humankind. That's why I feel that way. I think we experience a lot of eros and a fair bit of philo. And I
Oh, I,
think
th- I think I think
So, well,
I think the Storge is probably the most.
well,
I think
yeah, let's define
okay,
those. So,
let's break it down. Brian, break it down.
but my point is still we experience those a lot more than unconditional true,
but it,
limitless love.
but
But
it's
but if
it
but if you're
seems like,
doing it right,
but it seems like Dre is asking it in the context of being a Christian
I
and
am.
being transformed,
Okay.
and
Yes.
you're considering it as a universal
No, I'm saying
phenomenological
even
standpoint.
Christians. Okay, so let's isolate it down to Christians. I still don't think that all of Christendom broadly experiences and gives agape love.
Well, and I actually kind of agree with that, but
I knew you would once I
but I
explained my point.
but I still think Dre's qualification applies. Like, I don't know
It's
that
fair.
everybody who is a Christian is necessarily in that relationship with God.
Transformed.
It's,
Um,
I mean,
but
I hope you're wrong based on the way you phrased that sentence, but you're
I
probably
wish I
not.
was I wish I was wrong. But yeah, so
May-
let's
Maybe if
define
the church
terms.
didn't suck so bad,
Yeah, I posted a blog today, thethirdhelix.com. Check it out. Um,
Thirdhelix.com.
yeah.
thirdhelix.com.
Thanks, guys. Um, so yeah, do you want to define the four loves, or should I, or what do you?
Go for it.
Okay,
Yeah, go.
so there's four words for love in Greek. Storge is the word for family love, like the love that you have for your, that's kind of by obligation, by family relation. Eros, pretty obvious, sexual, romantic love. Um, Phileo, which is the affection between friends, and then there's agape, which originally, like outside of the New Testament, it just meant like a affection. It didn't have the spiritual connotations that we afford to it. Um, so in the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Old Covenant, there's a word. The equivalent to it in the Old Testament is the Hebrew word chesed, which is when you read about how, like in the Psalms, God's steadfast love for David, or his loving kindness. It speaks of God's covenant love. It's it's often translated. I don't remember the exact Greek that it's translated in the Septuagint, but in concept, that corresponds with the New Testament writer's use of the word agape, which is God's covenant love for us, the kind of love that God is. When it says that God is love, it's God is agape. Um, and they use that word because it was kind of just laying around in Greek and wasn't being put to any meaningful use, but it got that meaning from the New Testament use of it. And you get its meaning from context, like when Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. If you love me, you will obey my commands. For God so loved the world." It's that word agape. You kind of see its place in the hierarchy of Christian values and among the four loves by verses like Second Peter 3. I'm sorry, Second Peter 1, I think verses 6 and 7, where he says, when he talks about participating in the divine nature, escaping the corruption of the world caused by appetites. Therefore, make every effort to add to your faith excellence, to excellence knowledge, to knowledge self mastery, to self mastery perseverance, to perseverance godliness, to godliness Philadelphia, brotherly love, to Philadelphia agape. And that's kind of the highest level of Christian spiritual development. Matt, you described it as unconditional love.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to get ahead of the game, but I think it's necessary to kind of define even more than what I have, what love means. I reject, and I know this is an unpopular opinion. I think that the phrase unconditional love is an oxymoron. I don't think there's any such thing as unconditional love. Um,
Let's pull on that thread. So let's go back through the other questions from lightning round. And Dre, I don't remember. I can't restate your question perfectly, but you asked something to the effect of, "Does God love us even when we're being bad?"
Right. Does he love us at
Right,
our worst,
right,
or
and
is it only after
right,
repentance?
and we all agreed that He loves us at our worst. Right. That's essentially what unconditional love means. Like, I mean, maybe there's technical textual nuances there, but from a functional point of view, it's the same thing.
Um, so what if we never reciprocate his love?
Well, then we're not part of, because then it's not relational, but it doesn't stop him from loving us.
Right.
For example, right, like if my son's a serial killer and he's in prison, like he's kind of severed the relationship with our whole family, but I
Wait,
still love him.
when did this happen?
Well, I
We're,
mean,
we're not supposed to talk about it, but
yeah, he runs fast, so he gets over it all the time. So it's, you know it
Oh, you were
to
speaking
me.
hypothetically.
I was speaking hypothetically. I'm just talking
You
about
were just so matter of
a-
fact, like,
you
oh,
as
did
my
kind of say it
son,
like you're like, I mean,
my
like my son's a
I
serial
mean,
killer.
as
so my
everyone
son's a
knows, my
serial killer,
son's
right?
a serial killer.
So I married an axe murderer. Like what, it's yeah. So to me, like he never lost his father's love, but he did sever the relationship, which
Right.
and
You
and the
see
relationship was
examples.
severed due to the condition for him not being a very good human.
There's a lot of examples of like, spouses getting a divorce and then learning to co-parent, and they talk about the fact that they're better friends now than they ever were when they were married, and they actually still, care for each other deeply and all that kind of stuff,
So,
right?
uh, when we talk about love on those terms, I mean, it's kind of a mix. Like, say your serial killer son has cut off the relationship with the family, so he's in prison. You never see him again, and you can't, claim like if the conditions are to cut off from the family, in what sense do you still love him? Like, is love just an emotion or a sentiment that you kind of like radiate his way, or does it mean something beyond that? Like when you say that God loves us even at our worst, I can think of a sense in which that's true, in the sense that he still has grace and calls us to repentance and reveals himself and provides for our needs. But at the end of the day, if we never reciprocate his love, if we never respond to him in faith and accept his love, well, we haven't met the condition of of being in his presence, of receiving his love, and so we're shut out from his presence for all eternity.
Mhm.
So I guess, given that that's the case, what does unconditional love mean in that context?
Because if, well, well, first I would say that if he didn't love, and that's the condition, then it wouldn't hurt him that that was the case. So for in my example, in my analogy, I love my son, and the fact that he's in prison, it affects me. It affects me forever. Why? Because I love him. Because if I didn't love him, I wouldn't give two hex darn dangs, right? Like if some serial killer from across the world does some stuff, I'm actually pleased that that guy is in prison, right? I am not well pleased that my son is in prison. Why? Because the guy across the world I do not love. My son I love, and I love him unconditionally, which causes me pain that he is behind bars because he did horrific things.
I would agree that God is jealous for us, and so our rejection of his love
Mhm.
does cause him, I guess, what we could best approximate as emotional pain. Um, but is God eternally in emotional pain over those who have rejected his love and are?
I, I mean, unless you're trying to make a point, I think that's an impossible way to answer. The nature of God is so much different. Like to try to presume that he experiences emotional grief the same way that we do is.
Well, but I mean, the Bible does use that language. It says that he was in Genesis 6, that when it says that he was humanity's wickedness was great on the earth, and the thoughts of his heart were only evil all the time, and God was grieved that he made
Mhm.
them. Um,
He,
so
he
like,
repented that he made him.
that's a bad translation.
Maybe.
Um, but like but it says he was grieved that he made them.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean he changed his mind in the sense that Man, I wish I'd known then what I know now. But he was aggrieved by it. That's really all the word conveys. So it is appropriate to an extent to speak in those terms, but at the same time, and the point I'm trying to bring out is that like I don't when you talk about God loving unconditionally, it kind of like it makes it the suggestion is that there's not he doesn't love any of us in particular. He just kind of loves generally. He's just kind of like a he's like a star radiating heat, and that his love just kind of emanates out to no one in particular.
That's literally how the Bible describes it. I mean,
How did
that's the language that's used.
where does it say that? What where
It
he
doesn't say
loves
he's a
no
star radiating heat,
I
but it talks about, I mean, like the point of you saying he's jealous for us. He doesn't say he's jealous for David and Solomon and Saul only, right? It's for everyone. Christ came to save us all,
yeah,
not to save the elect.
but it's for everyone.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't love just
right. That's
he,
what I'm
it's
saying.
it's not that his love just goes out and you happen to be there to be the recipient of
No,
it.
he loves us all
He
individually,
loves you in particular.
right? But happens to be
Um,
all of us in particular.
yeah, so
because he's like that.
we're agreed on that, but when you say that it's unconditional,
I,
um,
I say this unconditional is this because God's love is based on his character, not ours. So if you're saying that it's conditional, then why not have it based on merit? We've been saying for what years now that it doesn't matter what we did. He loves us. There's no what does Paul talk about? So no one can boast, right? So we
sure.
so is the character based on merit or is it not?
Well, when your children are born,
Right?
you don't love them because they have earned your love, but
Right?
you love them because of but you do love them in particular.
Okay.
Um, like it's
W-
not just
We're in agreement. We're tracking.
so there are two I have two
So let me
concerns
ask
here.
this though, before you go there. So are you saying that if I have a child that I love instantly and they don't reciprocate that love, that I don't love them anymore?
If they don't reciprocate that love and they sever the relationship, then the only thing that's left of that you can call love is just kind of a sentiment that doesn't go anywhere. Um, and the thing the two concerns that I have when
I
I
don't think
push
that's true
back,
either. I think you can still sacrifice for someone that doesn't hang on to you, that does sever a relationship. You can still do things for them behind scenes. You can still do things. You can still set stuff up in order for them to succeed, whether they want you to or not. You
well
can
then
still,
well
still,
then
still. And I
then the
think that God does that for us.
relationship has not been severed.
It's severed one. Well, what? I
If you're
mean,
still doing
to
that
him it
for
is.
that for to okay, back up to who do you mean to your son, your hypothetical serial killer son?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure. You're
yeah,
right.
but yeah, as far as his experience, but you're doing that. So what like when we are judged and people are cast out of God's presence for all of eternity, um, for all intents and purposes, they are outside of his love. They have renounced the condition by which to receive his love, which is to respond to him in faith and reciprocate. We don't earn anything from God by doing that. He does that because it's his nature. The reason I push back against the unconditional description is one, it depersonalizes it when it's just God just loves and you happen to be there to benefit from it, but it could have been anybody else who just happened to be there catching, basking in the emanations of his love. He loves everyone in particular, the way that you love your child on the condition that they are your child. You don't just love some other kid without that condition. You love your child on that condition. It's not a condition they earned, but it is a condition they meet. It might just simply be by virtue of existing. And so, when we speak of God's unconditional love, it's often, it turns into this sort of impersonal, platonic emanation of love that's not particular to the person. And so and
Sure.
so
I
it
think
winds up being this, and this is just one of two considerations that I want to bring up. So it just kind of winds up being impersonal. It's just kind of like God is a natural resource. He just loves everybody, and it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't, God doesn't love you. He just loves, and you're downstream of it. Which isn't
okay.
really love. And
Mhm.
the other reason that I, push back against unconditional is because, yes, in this life, until the moment we stop breathing, we are the beneficiaries of God's love. But if you don't respond to it, if you don't meet the condition of responding to him in faith, then yeah, you are cutting yourself off from God's love. It's not that it's not a shortcoming in his love. It's actually on the strength of his love that he doesn't he doesn't impose it on you against your will. He doesn't force his love on you. The very love by definition has to be volitional. Like the whole point of putting the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden was to give them that choice to either show their love by obeying him or rejecting his love. He's gracious, he's patient with us, not wanting anyone to perish, but at some point, like if you think that God's unconditional, people treat God's unconditional love, supposedly unconditional love, as if it's a blank check to
Right. So what you're saying is you quibble with people's response to the term unconditional, but you're not really quibbling with what I'm saying.
I think I'm wording what you're saying. It's kind of like I subscribe to the Ayn Rand view of morality.
Brian's bringing eisegesis into this conversation.
Right.
He's bringing
So
his preconceived idea to the conversation rather than
No,
addressing what we
but
said.
so I'm gonna
no, I'm
say this.
not.
So I had a
I'm not
so
doing that at all.
I had a rapid fire question that said, is God's love unconditional in relationship or unconditional in offer? And the reason why I asked that is exactly what you just kind of went off in the last 2 minutes, Brian, was the offer is there and it stands and it's unconditional. But you have to build that relationship if you want to last all eternity. So while you're here on earth, before you get judged, like you've got to
Yeah.
reciprocate that love, and
And,
that's why that's what my question meant. Is it unconditional in the offer, or is it unconditional in the relationship? And there are conditions to your relationship, but it's not unconditional in the offer. Just like I offer my son to love all the time, my hand will always be there. And then if our relationship is not, then he's going to rot away in prison forever. Or if he doesn't obey me as a father, then he wouldn't have done, if he would have obeyed me, he wouldn't have done the things that he did to land him in prison in the first place. And and to me, the unconditional offer is from God or me as a father to my son, where the relationship is up to him.
yeah, I
I,
mean, I think I while y'all were talking, I tried to find a couple of verses to help make sense of what the way I was trying to frame it. I agree with what you said, Dre, and I
Right.
think it was Romans 5. God demonstrates his own love for us, agape, in this while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, right? Like that's the point of Christ died for you and me and Dre well before we became sinners, knowing that we would become sinners, right? Like we were wayward sons. We were we were enemies. We were
sure,
opposed to God, and yet he offered this unconditionally. Maybe
Yes.
and maybe the concept, the word unconditional, Brian. Like I said, when you first pushed back, I said I don't know if you're having a specific problem with a nuance of the word itself or the concept. And I think that's, I mean, you've made your point. I get what you're trying to say. I, I is there a better word or a better phrase that
well,
you like?
let me put it this way. Well, one, I would, my contention here is that when we use the word unconditional to describe love, um, I think that we cheapen what love
Okay.
actually
No, I get
is.
it. I heard you.
Right.
And
I just disagree with that. That's all.
I would contend that Like I would challenge you to like, can you describe this love without using the adjective unconditional?
Sure.
Like why does like and how does unconditional how does that elevate the love? I think
I
that's
I
It,
have well, why does it have to
yeah.
be elevated? Why can't it just stay where it is?
well
So the
because we are saying that to elevate the notion of love that we're talking about. Like there's all these other loves that are rooted in something and but this
because
one it's
agape is sacrificial. In other words, you would sacrifice yourself or your feelings or your money or whatever it is for example, I have four people in my family and now what, seven that could absolutely do anything or say anything to me and I would not stop loving them. Period.
yeah,
End stop.
sacrificial is
Full
another
stop. So sacrificial
yeah.
is that to me that's what agape is. It's sacrificial. And you love them
I
beyond.
mean, so easiest way for me is to compare and contrast to the other versions of love, right? Because it's easy to it's a lot easier to say what something is by explaining what it isn't, right? And you that's kind of what you did also by saying it's not this, it's not a resource that you can just tap, right? And I get that. But like, family love, storge, like people turn off family all the time, right? There's tons of families that are disconnected and broken, and people don't talk to their sisters and brothers and cousins and moms and dads and whatever, right? That happens. Friends, bonded relationships, phileo, that goes away quick, fast, and easy, especially when it's, when there's no constant activity going on, right? Like you drift away from friends, your best college roommate, or, when you live in the military and you just don't talk to them anymore. Like that happens, right? Eros is easily a flash in the pan. It's highly related to emotion, and I like to think of it as
Flames.
like Maslowian type stuff, right? Like reproduction and all that kind of stuff. Or you drank too much. But agape is the one that endures, and some of those others turn into agape, right? Like sometimes you have a brotherly bond that's so strong that you develop true agape love for that brother or for your kids or whatever, right? Like I don't think we as men, Dre, as fathers, I don't think we actually instantly feel agape for our kids. We're not built like that. This is my opinion, right? Like
Sure, sure.
I've thought about this a lot, right? Like when my daughter was born, I was more terrified about what I could do wrong than I was focused on all the things I could do right, right? It probably took me a couple of years to really understand that there's nothing that could happen that you know, I wouldn't burn the earth to ash for her, right? I think similarly with when we date, you don't have agape at first sight, right? You have eros at first sight,
Right.
and then you learn to really dig the person. And my belief is in a dating situation, you start with eros, and then it turns into a little filio slash storge as you start dating more and you start to jive and click, right? And then at some point that turns into agape. But I think there's a progression when it comes to dating and marriage and that kind of thing. And I think that's why God's agape is so unique, because it was instantaneous and complete. It wasn't kind of sort of, I'm going to affiliate you guys and see if it works. And if not, then I'm going to, try again. Right. Even his punishments come from agape, because he's attempting to redirect humanity, to redirect, Israel at the time, right. To bring them back to him. And then his love culminated with the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
think
the most prime example of a sacrificial, covenantal, enduring, undying, undeserved, selfless love. So, Brian, there's my run at defining
right.
agape without saying
And
unconditional.
and I feel like it's focus driven, right? So if we're talking about agape, we're talking about actual will. And God's will is stronger than anything that there is that you can even conceive of, where phileo is more emotion, and then storge is instinct, I would
I,
call it,
I think so
and
too.
and, and eros is more about passion.
Hmm.
So you got so do you break it down? So but if you can layer those, if you can turn your passion into an instinct, in other words, you have that covenant marriage that becomes your family bond at the same time because you leave your father and your mother and you seal to this other
Hmm.
person, then that's layered. Now you have Eros plus Storge,
I think
right?
so. I think
And
so.
then as you grow with this person, because usually you start young, right? And as you grow and as you get older, you learn that phileo even with your spouse. You could because you could become like you're in the trenches with them day in and
Hmm.
day out. So now you're best of friends. You have a family bond, and you still hopefully still have that romance.
Hmm.
And then because of all three of those things, Matt, like you said, you're not going to kill for your daughter as soon as she comes out, but because you've layered all three of those, or your wife, you now have agape because now you have the will to sacrifice
Hmm.
yourself and have
Yeah.
the highest form, highest version of Christian love. And I think, Brian, what we're saying is the word unconditional is the end point of all that, and only God has the will to have unconditional love for all of us.
Um, Two things. Like there are 2 points I want to kind of get through before we end the show. Some of which I've touched upon. I don't need to get it all out now, but
Right.
the first point is that there's a difference between defining what love is
Hmm.
and describing it by its outward features. Like First
Okay.
Corinthians 13, this is often taken as the as Paul defining love. He isn't doing that. He's describing it by its outward features, but the internal experience of it is often quite a bit different than how you would describe it externally. And I think that difference revolves around the use of the word sacrifice, which I'll explain in a second. The other point I want to get to, somebody once said that the world doesn't need another sermon about love. Um,
Okay,
meaning
don't.
meaning
We're giving one right now.
right, and that's the point. Like often people come to Christianity and the teachings of Jesus, and the takeaway is, oh, he taught people to love. That's the takeaway. Before Jesus came, we didn't know we were supposed to love, but then Jesus came and said, "Hey, love your neighbor as yourself." And now we know that, and if you want to
I
be a good Christian, you do that, which is
I
not the
feel like
point of
the
Christianity.
Obama gif.
The point of Christianity is not that Jesus came to teach us how to love. He came to fulfill the law, the purpose of the law, first by showing us that the problem is not that we don't know good from evil. The problem is that our nature is fallen and we need a new nature. You can examine and analyze and write, tell sermon after sermon about the the rapturous glories of love. What really counts is having the new nature. You cannot do it without the new nature, and that's what he came to give us. And you have to grow into the new nature. So I do think it's important to understand what we're talking about when we say love. When Jesus said, "Love one another as I have loved you, a new command I give you, love one another." We obviously need to know what that means so that we can either know how and why we fall short, but simply knowing that is not enough. I mean, just like having the law is not enough, you need a new nature. So those are kind of the
You know,
and but
I think it's interesting that I feel like what you just said is what I said with the layers and the understanding and the learning as you go along, and then to reach the highest part where you completely understand what all that means. And because you understand that, your focus is your will and your sacrificial nature.
and so well, one, I
It,
would
it's it's the
the way
parfait.
that
It's the parfait attempt at love. You got to layer it. It's like an
well,
onion. The parfait. Everybody love parfait.
I, I think that the way that the biblical writers are using the term agape in the spiritual sense, it's something that like fallen mortals and our fallen nature, we are perfectly capable of eros, storge, and phileo. There are lots of people who grow in their marriages and have deep relationships with their spouses who never know God. So I would say that they might have very intense eros, storge, and phileo for their spouse, but they don't actually have agape. That's a transcendent level that you just can't achieve with fallen mortal nature.
I,
Um,
But
so,
I'm speaking from a Christian perspective,
well,
though.
hang on. I want to ask a question a different way. Do you
Okay.
have textual basis for that opinion? Because I've never heard of anybody having that perspective, and I don't know that I agree with you.
um, well, we love because he first loved us. I mean,
Okay,
the way that agape is being discussed in the New Testament, particularly in First John, that it's being discussed as the result of our relationship to God. It's not something that um, it's not something that's really discussed outside of that context. Um,
what do you mean it's not discussed outside of that context?
Well, agape, the way that the New Testament writers are used. Now, again, as I said before, the word existed in Greek
Sure,
prior to,
I'm not hung up on that word because, like you said, there was a Hebrew word for it before.
yeah,
But I mean, going
But
back
we're
to
hung up on that concept and
yeah,
what
look,
you
it's the
just said.
concept, yeah. But going back, like, let's focus on Old Testament for a minute. I mean, are we? And I don't have an opinion either way. Are we saying that Hased is that the word, the love word that?
Chesed. It's transliterated into English as sometimes Chesed, sometimes Hesed, Chesed,
Okay,
something like that. But
okay,
but yeah, in the Old Testament, to answer your question, in the Old Testament, I don't specifically recall if there are examples of it outside of this context. I do know that predominantly when the word appears, it predominantly it's one way. It speaks of God's covenant love
Sure.
for Israel, for David. Um,
but it does. But you're saying there's no biblical reference for humans loving other humans?
in that sense of chesed, or in the New Testament sense of agape, there's not.
Well, then
We
that
don't.
actually would lend credence to the idea that Christ came to teach us to love. I'm not trying to be funny or argumentative. I mean, if you're telling me that there's no biblical reference of humans loving humans before Jesus, and then in the Old Testament, every mention of love is relative to Christians loving Christians because God loved us, that only happened because of Jesus, Pentecost, Holy indwelling of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Right.
But do you like, and that's what I'm saying. But like, do you understand that when I say that, like, there's a difference between Jesus teaching us to love in the sense of, hey, you should love one another, like in the Sermon on the Mount, and giving us the nature by which we can love. Like that, and this is
Yes.
essentially like
Yes.
a very narrow version of what the law was given for. It wasn't given as a set of instructions by which to make ourselves righteous. It was given to show us that we, in fact, cannot be righteous. And so the problem is not our not knowing right from wrong, that we needed the law to tell us that. The problem is that by nature, we are unlawful. So we need a new nature.
Yeah,
So
but then why wasn't all of that taught in the Old Testament?
wasn't it?
I don't know. You said it wasn't. That I'm asking. I'm not. I'm trying to understand your point.
I'm saying that, like, when you read about agape in the New Testament,
Hmm.
like that passage from Second Peter that I'm always quoting,
Hmm.
it's predicated on his divine power has given us everything needed for life and godliness through
Hmm.
our knowledge of him, by which we participate in the divine nature, escape the
Right.
corruption of the world. Therefore, make every effort to add to your faith these
A whole
qualities of the
bunch of
divine
things,
nature.
but all of
Right.
those things exist outside of the divine nature. It's just those are the things
Sure.
that make us more divine.
Um, but the premise here is that this is what participation in the divine nature looks like.
Mhm.
Um, and again, the word agape appears elsewhere, but the concept of agape, as it's defined in the New Testament, is very much the consummation and completion of our participation in the divine nature.
Sure,
So
sure.
And yeah, and that's why I when I talked about my layered approach, my climbing the ladder, it's all about effort to keep moving up. I'm not saying that everyone ever always achieves this. I think it's something you strive for. I think
yeah, and
it's divine love. So
I'm
if
not
you're not striving for divine love, then what are we doing?
Right.
yeah, and I'm not necessarily sure that we're arguing on this. I think we
Well,
might be
what I'm
I do
grappling
get the
with.
sense. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
oh, I was just say what I was pushing back on, Brian, is you said that agape can only exist through the spirit, essentially. I don't mean to invent the words you said, but that was the gist of what you said.
Yeah,
And
that's a fair
And I'm
summation.
and I
pushing
think
back
we
on that.
say, I don't know, I say yes.
No, I'm
That's the
pushing
point.
back on that.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm trying to understand. And I don't necessarily have a dog in the fight. I'm trying to understand how you get there. Because if all of the other arete that Peter talks about that you're supposed to continuously improve, all of those other qualities exist outside of the Holy Spirit. They're improved by the Holy Spirit. And the point is like, I don't want to say transcendentalism, right? But the point is to get to the top of the mountain and be divine. And through all of that, you get really good at agape. But I don't get how agape only exists there when all of the other things exist
Yeah,
before.
but even all of those other things, there are qualities of arete and self-control and godliness that exist in the world outside of the Christian context, but they're being used specifically here in the
Sure,
context of
sure.
participation in the divine nature.
Yeah, I
And
would be
the
okay if you said
paradigm,
mastery of agape comes through the spirit. That I think makes a lot of
I,
sense.
okay.
And maybe I'm picking a nit to argue about, but it feels it seems odd to say that there's no human that isn't a saved Christian that isn't capable of expressing a sacrificial, undeserved, covenantal love for another person.
um, I mean, yeah, as I and I would as that well, I think the question is, would the New Testament writers would they call that agape, or would they call that really intense
Maybe,
storge,
maybe,
Sorge.
phileo,
maybe,
and
maybe.
eros? And I want to. This is kind of this goes back to the first point that I was making. We can come back to this if you want, but like describing love as sacrificial, I would say that that would be the fall into the category of the outward description I was talking about,
Mhm.
but not the definition of it.
I mean, it's a characteristic of it, right? Like I don't
Right.
Right.
definition characteristic. I mean, I get your
Well,
point, and I appreciate the way you're saying that because as a behaviorist, right? I'm personally more of a behaviorist than I am a psychologist, right? I'm a dog trainer, right? I can't know what's going on in a dog's mind because he can't tell me. All I can do is watch what he does relative to stimulus that he experiences, and then I have to make an inference on what's going on in his little brain, right? And then I learn that if I adjust stimulus and adjust the way he's conditioned to those stimuluses, he acts differently, right? Like that's what behaviorism is in a nutshell. And it's in my mind, it's the only honest way to read an animal, and we are animals because humans lie and they also don't understand and they tell you what you want to hear, right? And so I struggle with, having somebody tell me what they're experiencing when they say they love somebody. It's a lot easier to watch what they do and how they do it and go, well, I
Right.
saw what you did and you're a
well,
liar.
what I mean is like if your serial killer son
Mhm.
is in a burning building,
Not mine, his.
Mine. Yeah, I have a serial killer son. He gets away with stuff
Has
because
he
he's an
Don't put
athlete.
that
And
evil on
athletes,
me, Ricky Bobby.
have you
athletes get away
checked
with
up
stuff.
on Austin lately? Do you know?
Yeah, all
Do
the
you know where
time.
he's at?
He's right over there.
Like those
Well, let's say
commercials in the 90s. It's
let's
10
just
p.m. Do you know where your children are?
let's just make it easy. Let's say I have a serial killer son.
Okay,
Right.
that,
Okay.
that checks out.
He, shut up. Um, he's in a burning building.
Okay,
I can't let my son burn to death, even if he's a serial killer.
understood.
I run into the building.
Mhm.
I get him, I wrap him in a wet cloak,
Mhm.
and I run outside.
A cloak.
A blanket. I don't know
Okay.
why I thought of a cloak, but whatever.
I could
It's
let that slide. I'm sorry.
a wet blanket
Okay.
to keep
Yeah.
him from burning.
Yeah.
I save him.
To the Batcave.
I'm on fire. I'm disfigured for life,
Mhm.
disabled.
Right.
Externally, you would describe that as, that's sacrificial love. I sacrifice for
Mhm.
him. Internally, that's not a sacrifice. That's me serving my values. That's me serving what I value most at the
Mm,
expense of what I value less.
I understand what you're saying. I disagree. I completely understand what you're saying, and I get how you're making that differentiation
Okay, why do you disagree?
because the two it's a distinction with it's
A difference without a
a difference
distinction.
about a distinction. Yeah, it's like it's how you're normalizing it in your mind. It doesn't matter. You still sacrificed.
Well,
Right.
but the reason I say that is because we often speak of that kind of love as we're talking about it in aspirational terms. We're kind of smuggling in this language that makes it sort of burdensome. Like I wish that I
Oh, yeah, sure.
Why
like
is it burdensome?
because to the person who is making the sacrifice, if it's truly out of love, it's not a sacrifice. Even Jesus, it says that he did it, he for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Like
Yeah, because he knew the juice was worth the squeeze.
he believed that he was getting something for what he was giving up that was of greater value than what he gave up.
Yeah.
And it like and so the
And,
way
and
that
in
we
your and
talk
in your scenario,
And so would you.
sacrificing your body and being disfigured was worth saving your son from sudden death. Like that's the same thing.
Yeah, and I'm again, I fully affirm describing it as sacrificial as a description,
Yeah.
as an outwardly observable characteristic.
Yeah.
But the internal experience of love, I don't think there's any. I think the root of love internally is fundamentally selfish. I don't mean selfish in a negative sense.
No, I
Like
I agree with you. I know what
Yeah,
you're
I
saying.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. You're it's selfish because you're serving your core need and you would be worse off if you didn't serve that need. It's all about you, but
yeah,
that happens to be something that manifests in a way that's positive for the other person. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we're all saying the
and
same thing.
yeah, but I think it's important. The reason it's important to coax this out and define that is, again, the way that we talk about love and morality in general, we typically divide it between, selfish and unselfish. The loving person, the virtuous person is the virtue is defined by the selflessness, by the unselfishness typically.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that's a mistake.
I get
Um,
what I get where you're going with the burdensome now. I
with,
think the problem is what we don't consider is that in a selfless act is about a better way to describe it is did the person that did the thing get something out of it? Yes, no, they always do, right? Like there's that
There's
thought.
no true altruism,
Right,
right?
altruism.
Like, yeah,
That whole
yeah,
thing about does a person give their time because they're selfless? Well, no, because they get something out of it. They feel good. They look
right.
good in front of their peers. They get to
Sure.
brag about it.
There's
They
an
go and
outcome
yeah.
donate
always.
blood, and they get a little pin, or they
I,
get a
I,
T-shirt they get to wear. Like there's all this stuff that
yeah, and the way we talk about morality in terms of, selfish versus unselfish, one, we make it performative. We turn it into a burden that we
Mhm,
must meet,
mhm.
and it becomes performative when I think genuine love is shamelessly self-serving. If I love you, it's not a sacrifice to do this for you. And it also, I think when you understand what it is, well, one, the former way of describing it in terms of being burdensome as unselfish as being unselfish is definitionally good as opposed to evil. It's a kind of a shame-based morality. It's kind of the in the Garden of Eden, they as soon as they ate the fruit, their eyes were opened, and then they were ashamed of themselves because they knew they were naked.
Mhm.
And I think in our fallen nature, the way that we talk about morality, it's always shame-based. It's always, I've got to hide what I really
No,
am. I have
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah.
and I have to
Let me.
perform.
I agree. Let me tell you a quick
Well,
story.
let me finish this point
Okay.
because I'm almost done. But
Okay.
when you I think when you have the Spirit of God, when you understand what morality is, what love is, it sets you free. It sets you free to be shamelessly selfish by serving what you love. Others
100%.
outside of you might think that you're being sacrificial and selfless, but really you're doing this because I I I get a lot of benefit out of helping these people.
Absolutely.
And
Like
so
in my little local circle here with my brothers, um, there's like a running joke that all of our wives drive nicer cars than we do, right? Like they're in the newer SUVs, you know, they've got, essentially none of the wives in my family circle work. Andrew's Alyssa is a dog groomer, so she does work, but she works from home, and her financial load is less than Andrew's, right? Um, but Carrie doesn't work, Sarah doesn't work, my stepbrother Donnie, his wife doesn't work, right? And we joke about this, and but it's selfless simply from the point of view that we do it because we can, but we all give each other the nod and the wink every time it comes up, like, hey, our wives don't work, huh? They drive nicer cars than we do, huh? Yeah. Yeah, because we're ballers. That's what we do, right? So
Right.
yeah, I mean it's selfless, air quotes, right? But we get something out of it. And then, do I make jokes to Carrie every once in a while about, her being spoiled and all that? Yeah, of course I do. Right? I don't lord it over her in a
Yeah,
nasty
you're gonna
way.
say that shit until she's governor of Oklahoma one day.
Right.
And she's like, sit
Yeah.
down, first man, bitch.
Right. Hey, I've been training to be arm candy my whole life. Like, let's
Right, you
do
know what I'm
this.
saying?
But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right, Brian, that like even the most selfless act, you get something out of it, right? Like even going back to, Jesus admonishing the Pharisees for praying in public, right? He's like, "What are you doing? Go pray in your closet. Like don't do that out in public and brag about it."
And
So,
notice how he says you've already received your reward.
mhm,
Like the person who is praying in private, just between him and God, he's seeking a reward. It's just not the reward of public.
right.
I,
Yeah.
I find it really fun and interesting that, for the last hour and a half, hour-ish, uh, Brian's pushback has not been on our use of words or definitions. It's his pushbacks on how shitty people take those words
Right.
and definition and how they go off somewhere they shouldn't go. So it's like, no, what they're saying is right, but don't do it the way that people do. People do things that way. I don't want you doing it that way because that's not the right way, even though what they're saying is the way, but you're not doing it right. Don't do that. And
And,
I
and
just
now
find it.
Brian doesn't know if he agrees with you or not. He's confused. He can't tell if there was a trick, if
He
there was a
keeps
trap in
pushing
there or
back like,
not.
well, that's because people think unconditional and cheapen God. Like I've never said any of that shit. Like,
I didn't
like
say no
no,
filth, slander, and
I
filth.
didn't say none of that. But and
Well,
I didn't even mean that. But I understand how some people do take it that
Sure.
way. So
Yeah.
I understand his
yeah.
points. And now I'm talking to him in the third person like he's not in the room. Right. So, so-
There's this stereotype of the overbearing Christian parent. They're all
right.
going to laugh at you. That, but because they're so godly,
Could it be Satan?
they they're utterly exacting on their kids to be like perfect and holy and to just do everything just so, or God's gonna get you. um
It's interesting, Dad, because he didn't get you.
What?
I learned from watching you, Dad.
Um, exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I, it's often because I mean, and I think that's kind of a that's a stereotype because there's some truth to it. But I think the truth of that, it's sort of the logical extension of this understanding that yes, where God commands us to love, but we think he's our understanding of what that means it's kind of it's twisted and burdensome. I have to sacrifice, I have to be unselfish, and so it becomes burdensome. You don't really feel it, and you kind of resent the people that you're loving, because you feel like you're sacrificing for them and you don't really love them. um, but when you really love them, it doesn't register as sacrifice. It only looks like sacrifice from the outside, but
Right.
and it kind of goes back this is the relationship between love and faith. Like every time Jesus appealed to someone to put their faith in him and in God, he appealed to their self-interest. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who found a treasure in a field, and he went and sold everything he had and he bought that field. Like you're doing it because you understand this is where your rewards are. This is going to give you the best return. Um, put your faith in him because he's going to give you eternal life, and what you lose in service to him, you'll be repaid a thousandfold. But it's not transactional. It's just a matter of investment. Likewise, love is just doing what you value, but it's a love conditioned by faith in him, so that you value what he values and love what he loves and hate what he hates. And the result of that, of investing yourself in him and that faith, is that it transforms you so that you are capable of that love. And in so doing, like I used to, the command to love your enemies, and to love people in general. Like a lot of people, I don't naturally do that. I'm kind of, I kind of think people suck a lot, and it's hard to love them. I have matured to the point now. Where I wouldn't say that I love my enemies, or I love everybody the way that I should, but I don't see it as a burden that I'm failing to meet. I see it as a promised gift
An
that
aspirational goal.
like I see the future me who can love his enemies, and I admire that person. Um, like I want to be that person.
What if you
I'm
Eros your enemies?
Come here, boy.
Why do you got to make it weird, man?
You know, I,
Don't be my enemy.
I want to go back to a question I asked that was just kind of odd, and it was just something I was thinking about today. What does covenant love demand that the modern culture often ignores? And so I was just thinking about what a covenant love is and what is the demand of that.
Yeah.
And so it demands a level of commitment, sacrifice, permanence that the modern consumer-driven culture often ignores. And really we don't just ignore it, we view it as oppressive. And that's why you'll hear like these black pillars on marriage, like it's oppressive to be married, or
Mm.
it's oppressive because of the patriarchy or something of that nature. So what I write, while contemporary culture typically prioritizes personal happiness, emotional satisfaction, and exit strategies when relationships become difficult, covenant love requires unconditional loyalty and prioritization of the we over the I, and the commitment that persists regardless of fluctuating feelings. So that's kind of what I meant by that. How we just live in this microwave culture, this disposable culture where we can just, if the Eros is gone, then there's no point in staying in this relationship. We we never they never our culture doesn't ascend to the next levels. I mean, agape, hell, we can't even get the Storge. People are, cutting off friends because of a political post. They're cutting off their mother and their father. They won't go to Thanksgiving because of something somebody might say. Um, and I
But
and I just wanted to emphasize that there's a covenant. There's a reason why you got married. There's a reason why you're in this relationship. There's a reason why you have a family.
Well, everything you
And
just said sounded like what Brian was pushing back against the concept of unconditional.
yeah. So
and
so I was just talking about so instead of unconditional, maybe it's a higher prioritization that no matter what, you stick in this and
the
and
supreme
you fix it.
irony, sorry, I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you were, it seemed like a natural, sorry.
Sure, you're
The
good. You're
I just
good.
like when
You're
Dre's like wrecked him, damn near killed him.
good.
the supreme irony is that like the people who will cut off their relatives because they voted for Trump or um, whatever other and moral failing, they always
Those
cite
are the tolerant
love.
ones.
They always cite love as their moral authority.
Mhm.
You're spewing hate, and we're for love, but they are for the party of empathy. They seem totally disinterested in knowing what the other side of the argument is. Um, but it's the bottom, like
Well,
love is just
it's just that they believe in wildly conditional love. That's really all it comes
Wildly.
down to is they like we believe in love as long as you agree with all the things that I think and say all the things I want you to say and do the things I want you to do.
I think even that gives them too much credit. They don't believe it. They don't believe in love at all. That's just the moral authority they
No, I
cite
I don't
to
disagree
make
with you.
to
Yeah.
make their hatred seem like it's something
Right.
virtuous.
No, I my point was in pointing out all of the hypocrisy of you put that many conditions on it, it's no longer love. It's
Right.
it's
Right.
a it's a bully tactic is all it is. Wrapped up in
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, they
It's like
claim
it's like
love
it's
to
like when you get
justify
the
hating
present
you
and it's the shape of the box of the thing you want, and you're like, and it's the box says it's the thing you want. You're like, oh yeah, then you open it and it's like socks
or poop.
or poop.
Or coal?
All right.
Like we
We had to jump right to the feces.
Whoa, yo. And I also think
Well,
that
you can
the
do something with
Storge
coal and socks.
Storge doesn't get enough love in this love, quadrant. I think we just look over like, well, yeah, it's your family, you're supposed to love them. But like that has real deep meaning. And it's I think that it's so boring and so fundamental that it's easy to look over.
I think
It it's
I
the
think
fundies.
I think it's because we don't put ourselves in the mind space or the worldview of an ancient Near Eastern person.
Because
Because
we
familial love is what kept people alive back then.
right.
And we don't need that.
Protective.
We don't need that today to stay alive. You
It's
just get
it's
mad and walk out the door and it doesn't matter and everybody's fine.
it's loyal by nature.
Yeah,
You're
entire tribes survived their existence on planet Earth because of family love. Right? Like that's what kept tribes together and it's what kept warring factions apart and it, kept the peace or protected them from the next tribe.
right.
And we don't live in that world anymore. So I think that's probably as good a reason as any why, divorce is the way it is. It doesn't matter if you get divorced, right? Everything just keeps
There's
on
no
going.
consequences
Right.
at all. Like
Right.
If you look at love in terms of the four fundamental forces of physics, Storge is like gravity. It's the most like conspicuous and pervasive. It's also kind of the weakest. Um,
Tell that to a black hole.
um, well,
Why did I get
but
all Neil deGrasse Tyson on you? That was weird.
but
the strong and weak nuclear forces are way stronger than gravity.
but
Like
why are we talking about
gravity's
strength? We're talking about importance.
well, because like families they seem to dissolve really easily
That's
outside of
that's
those
that's because
life or
we're
death
that's
circumstances.
because we're wusses. If we believed or if we treated our family and love as if it were a life and death circumstance, as if God looks down upon us for cutting off our mother and father that way, then we would have high stakes in this. But since our culture doesn't allow it, which is why I asked the question about covenant love and culture.
I,
Are,
I,
are,
I
are
like. Does anybody else notice? Do the listeners notice that Dre's starting to get really defensive about his questions because he's putting so much time and energy into him? He's like, "That's why I asked the question,
That's why
you
I asked
son of
it.
a bitch."
That's why I wanted this to go.
Well, but my point is that when you set Storge up as ultimate, um,
I didn't say
I didn't
that.
say that.
I'm not saying you,
Okay.
but there are people I know, and I lots of people I know of
I'm just saying it's not getting the love that it deserves. That's all I'm saying.
who will insist that, there's nothing more important than family. Um, but their own families are in shambles. They have immediate relatives they haven't talked to
Well, then
in
that's all you need to
decades.
know about that person.
Um, well, but I think
Back to
that's a
my point
com.
about their actions tell you more than what they say.
Right.
But I think
Right.
that's a common thing. That's an all too frequent
But
occurrence
I don't think they believe
in our
what they said.
civilization.
They're liars.
My point is, well, Jesus said, if you love your father or mother more than me, you are not worthy of me. Anyone who comes after me must deny himself, take up his cross daily and follow me. Anyone who loves father or mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters more than me cannot be my disciple. Um, agape for love, I think where that is paramount, then all of the other loves are thereby strengthened. Like if you love God first and foremost, the other loves are
Oh,
upheld by that. If you lose that love for God, as we've seen in our civilization, family breaks down, marriages break down, friendships break down over petty political squabbles because something has to fill the vacuum. They turn politics into their religion, um, which can't sustain them spiritually, but they will make that absolute. And so they pay lip service to love, but it really just becomes a license for hatred. Um, and they claim to be virtuous over it because they're filled with righteous feelings about some cause or another, and they call that love. But in practice, they don't love. But my overall point is when you set any of these lesser loves up as ultimate, it poisons it and everything else. When you set
hmm.
love for God up as ultimate, everything else is thereby given life and supported and reinforced. So
Roll credits. Yeah.
Right? All right. I like it. Get
I
us
think
out
we
of here.
solved love. Solved love.
What's love got
And
to do with it?
I would do anything for love.
I won't
But
do
I won't
that.
do that. I won't do that. I just won't.
love, I get so lost sometimes.
Love hurts.
I'm done. I'm not gonna.
I got
You know
nothing.
my
I
favorite
got
place for love? An elevator.
Going up, Mr. Tyler? Going down. Going
So I
down.
have a blog article
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
explain the whole love thing, selfishness versus unselfishness, shame based. I'll give you the link.
Okay.
Yeah. Got any save rounds, Matthew?
No.
Brian?
No.
I think I would say uh, learn the four different types of love, and it can help you in all of your relationships. A lot of times, in like today, a scripture hit me pretty hard. John 21:15 through 17, where Jesus asked Peter if he loves him. But the word he was using there was agape. And then Peter replied, like, of course I love you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I phileo you. So then they talked some more. Then Jesus asked him again the second time, do you agape me? And he says, of course I phileo you. So then the third time he asked him, hey, do you phileo me? So Jesus met him where he was. And he said, and he kind of paused and was like, yeah, I phileo you. And he's like, good, take care of my sheep. Right. That's a paraphrase of those verses. And I think a lot of times as humans, especially in relationships, couples especially, like, hey, I love you, do you love me? but are you saying the same word? Are you in the same moment with each other when you're saying that? And it depends on the circumstance. It depends on what you're talking about. Uh, so maybe, before reacting, take a breath, take in what the other person said to you, and respond versus react. And the pause button, even an extra breath, will be your friend in all relationships, whether it's the boardroom, the bedroom, or
The elevator.
the elevator. I was gonna say the freeway, but again, so just the fact that love has different meanings and that we interpret things differently anyway, that maybe pause and consider what that person means when they say words to you. And that doesn't just go for love, it goes for all the things in all your conversations and all your arguments that you have with people that you care about. Um, so that's like my final 2 cents on
Can I
loving other people.
can I add to that point?
Yes, sir.
Because
I mean, I gave you a shot, but whatever.
well, I
It's
didn't know you were going to say that.
okay.
Um, that passage in John, it's in the context of prior to Jesus's arrest. He's predicting his arrest and crucifixion. All of you will be scattered, and Peter says, even if all of these guys scatter, I'm not. I'm with you to the end. He didn't say I agape you, but in effect, it was all these guys might leave you, but I agape you more than all of them. And Jesus was like, "Do you? Do you really? Because you're gonna deny 3 times that you know me
Mhm.
before dawn." And so after, so that's why Jesus asked him, Simon, son of, and he calls him Simon, not Peter, which is itself telling.
Right.
Hmm.
Do you truly agapeo me more than any of these? So it seems like Jesus was obviously hurt by his denials. Peter, or Simon at this point, was devastated to learn that he didn't love Jesus as much as he thought he did. Um, but in that exchange, giving Peter 3 times to 3 opportunities to declare his love for him and to meet him where he was, we're gonna fail. We're gonna find out we're not the people we wish we were. But he knows that it's a process. You might not agapeo God or your fellow man or your brother in Christ today, but phileo him. Do the best you have with what
Do
you
your
got,
best.
and keep growing, and you will agapeo him. And so,
That's really good context. Thank you for that, Brian.
yeah.
Um, and with that, I will say stay curious, stay enlightened, and we will see you next week. God bless.